National Cabinet met virtually today to discuss national priorities, and I want to thank the Premiers and Chief Ministers for the ongoing constructive spirit in which they've engaged in discussions. Today was important. We heard from Professor Michael Kidd, the Acting Chief Medical Officer, about the ongoing issues dealing with COVID. We're moving towards managing these issues. The framework builds on the principles agreed by the National Cabinet in September to support a nationally consistent approach to transition Australia's COVID-19 response. We agreed to extend the high-risk settings pandemic payment over the summer period to provide targeted financial support to casual workers in high-risk settings. In addition to that, we had an important discussion about disaster recovery and about getting better planning in areas impacted by natural disasters, which we are seeing occur more frequently and with more intensity due to climate change. And there will be further discussions in 2023 about that, led by New South Wales Premier Dominic Perrottet. We also had a discussion about early learning and agreed on a framework going forward about training for early learning, which is important. Today's meeting was mainly taken up with dealing with our energy price relief plan. And I'm pleased to announce that there was agreement at the National Cabinet on a way forward to provide that energy price relief for households and for businesses. Extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures. And we know with the Russian invasion of Ukraine, what we've seen is a massive increase in global energy prices. And because of Australia not investing in enough of our own energy assets, what we have is a vulnerability to those international price movements, and that is placing pressure on businesses here, but also on households going forward. The federal government, together with state and territory governments, are determined to provide some relief and to take what are extraordinary measures to deal with these extraordinary times. We're taking urgent action to shield Australian families from the worst impacts of these price hikes. We're working hand in hand with our state and territory partners to find the best outcomes for all Australians, keeping Australians in work, keeping industry going, and making sure that families and businesses can pay their bills. There are 4 components that were agreed to today. Firstly, the Commonwealth will take action on gas in putting a mandatory code of conduct in place for a temporary period of 12 months of $12 a gigajoule. The ACCC will be responsible for monitoring and enforcement and will be provided extra resources to do so. Parliament, I can report, will be recalled next week to deal with the legislation, and I want to thank the Greens crossbench members as well as the senators, including Jackie Lambie and David Pocock, who I've had discussions with today, who've agreed that it's appropriate that Parliament be recalled next week to make sure that this legislation can be carried. The second element is the Commonwealth working with New South Wales and Queensland to introduce a temporary coal price cap of $125 per tonne. New South Wales will be negotiating out a code, but will also be legislating to ensure that this occurs. Queensland will be using its direction powers under the Government-Owned Corporations Act, given that they are part owners of the energy sector there in in Queensland, in particular the Gladstone plant. In New South Wales as well, where there is a suggestion that there might be a cost of production that is more than the cost of providing that resource, then the Commonwealth would be providing support. The third element of the package is nationally targeted bill relief. The Commonwealth will provide up to $1.5 billion to provide support for households and also small businesses. This will be paid through state governments by reducing people's bills. This is important rather than cash handouts, so that it makes a difference as well to having a deflationary impact on the economy rather than an inflationary one. That is why it is being done through that method. And Treasurers will work on a package for each state and territory, which will be provided for that support, and they will be finalising that package for the beginning of next year. It will also be temporary, but will start in the second quarter of 2023. The fourth element is securing our energy future. And yesterday's announcement and agreement by energy ministers for the capacity investment scheme is very much a part of that, as is the Commonwealth's Rewiring the Nation program. This is about bringing energy transmission into the 21st century. So it's about making sure that transmission is brought up to date, but it's also about increasing capacity of the networks. And together, this plan that was agreed to by energy ministers yesterday, and which there'll be more announcements about our Rewiring the Nation program on top of the announcements that we've made up to today, will take us forward. Together, this package is a constructive plan. It's a constructive plan to deal with the challenges that households and businesses are facing, and it is an example of the Commonwealth working hand in hand with states and territories, working these issues through to achieve an outcome to ensure that that energy price relief does occur.